In the 1970s, the Sweeney redefined British crime drama. Fast cars, hard men, no mercy. Jack Regan and George Carter seemed untouchable. But decades later, the real battles were fought far from the flashing sirens. Illness, scandal, loneliness, sudden deaths. Their final chapters were nothing like the heroes we remember. Join us as we reveal their real names, real ages, and honor the legacies they left behind. Dennis Waterman as George Carter. George Carter, the sharp, streetwise detective in the Sweeney, was played by Dennis Waterman. At 27 years old in 1975, he was the ambitious detective sergeant serving as Reagan's loyal and impulsive partner within the flying squad. Through 1978, as he reached 30, he embodied youthful aggression and restless determination. The role made him a household name across Britain. Born Dennis Waterman on 24 February 1948 in Clapham, South London, he was the youngest of 9 children in a crowded. His father forced him into boxing at an early age, convinced that toughness was survival. But acting became his escape from bullying and family pressure. After early roles in film and theater, the Sweeney brought national visibility, and Minder later cemented his fame with his theme song, "I Could Be So Good For You." His marriages reflected turbulence. He married Penny Dixon, then Patricia Maynard, with whom he had 2 daughters, including actress Hannah Waterman. His third marriage to Rula Lenska became controversial after public allegations of violence damaged his reputation and fueled years of scrutiny. In 2011, he married Pam Flint and moved to Spain, attempting to build a calmer life after decades in the spotlight while continuing his role in New Tricks. Years of smoking and heavy drinking weakened his health. In 2021, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, and the disease advanced quickly. He died on the 8th of May, 2022, at the age of 74 at his home in La Manga, Spain. The cause was lung cancer. His estimated net worth was around £5 million, earned through acting and music royalties. John Thaw as Jack Regan. Jack Regan, the relentless, uncompromising flying squad detective in the Sweeney, was played by John Thaw. At 33 years old in 1975, he was the Central Detective Inspector leading the elite crime unit against London's most dangerous criminals. Through 1978, as he turned 36, he carried the series with a presence that felt raw and dangerously authentic. That intensity audiences saw on screen came from something far deeper. Born John Edward Thaw on the 3rd of January 1942 in Gorton, Manchester, he grew up in working-class hardship. His mother, Dorothy, walked out when he was 7, leaving him and his brother with a father who was often absent and emotionally distant. The abandonment marked him permanently. He entered RADA at 16 and won the Vanberg Award. Later, Inspector Morse transformed him again, earning multiple BAFTA awards and establishing him as one of Britain's most respected actors. Marriage brought both stability and strain. His first wife, historian Sally Alexander, divorced him in 1968 after years overshadowed by his drinking and relentless work schedule. In 1973, he married actress Sheila Hancock, and the two built a partnership that endured intense professional pressure and the lingering impact of his childhood trauma. Sheila spoke openly about his depression and the emotional weight he carried even during the height of Inspector Morse. Health eventually forced him into a battle he could not control. A heavy smoker from youth and a former heavy drinker, Thaw was diagnosed with esophageal cancer in June 2001. Initial treatment brought cautious optimism before doctors confirmed the cancer had spread. As reruns of Inspector Morse continued to dominate British television, his physical strength deteriorated rapidly. John Thaw died on 21 February 2002 at the age of 60 at his Wiltshire home. The cause was esophageal cancer. He was cremated privately in Westerly, followed by a memorial at St. Martin-in-the-Fields, attended by leading figures of British culture, including Prince Charles. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around £10 million, built largely from Inspector Morse and decades of television work. Garfield Morgan as Frank Haskins. Frank Haskins, the disciplined chief inspector overseeing the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by Garfield Morgan. At 44 years old in 1975, he was the commanding superior officer responsible for controlling Regan and Carter's volatile operations. Through 1978, as he reached 47, he remained the firm authority figure who enforced order within the chaos of London's criminal underworld. His restrained power gave the series its backbone. Born Thomas Timothy Garfield Morgan on the 19th of April, 1931 in Birmingham. He grew up during the devastation of the Second World War. Air raids struck his city, rationing shaped daily life. He trained first as a dental technician before committing to acting, building discipline that later defined his career. Early television appearances in Z-Cars and Softly Softly established him as a dependable presence long before the Sweeney made his face nationally recognized. In 1963, he married actress Dudley Sutton, and they had one son together. The marriage eventually collapsed under professional strain and long separations caused by theater and television commitments. Years later, he remarried, choosing a more private life away from publicity. In 2008, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The illness spread aggressively, ending his decades-long career that had included appearances in Minder and even the film 28 Weeks Later. His health declined rapidly within a year of diagnosis. Garfield Morgan died on December 5, 2009 in London at the age of 78 due to cancer. His estimated net worth was around £2 million, accumulated from more than 50 years of stage and television work. Morris Perry as Chief Superintendent, Maynon. Chief Superintendent Maynon, the senior authority figure overseeing the operations of the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by Morris Perry. At 50 years old in 1975, he was the high-ranking superior responsible for maintaining order above the volatile detectives below him. His presence represented the establishment watching every move. Born Frank Morris Perry on 28 March 1925 in Bromley, Kent, he grew up during the aftermath of the Great Depression. He trained at the Old Vic Theatre School, building a classical foundation that carried him steadily through decades of work. He appeared in series such as The Avengers and Doctor Who, as well as films like The Bunker and the BAFTA-winning Short Letters of Service. In 1953, he married actress Margaret Ashcroft. Their marriage endured for more than 6 decades until her death in 2016. They raised 4 children together, maintaining stability even as his television career expanded across hundreds of credits. His long partnership with Margaret stood in contrast to the professional instability common in the industry. Family remained central throughout his working life. Advancing age gradually slowed his appearances. His career extended from the 1950s into the 2000s, with later roles in productions such as Midsummer Murders and Not Going Out, demonstrating remarkable longevity. Decades of steady performance made him a familiar presence across generations of British viewers. Morris Perry died on the 19th of September 2021 at the age of 96. The cause was natural causes related to advanced age. His estimated net worth was around £1.5 million, accumulated from decades of steady television and film work. He left behind a career built on durability, discipline, and quiet authority. John Alkin as Tom Daniels. Tom Daniels, the ambitious detective navigating the ranks of the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by John Alkin. At 28 years old in 1975, he was the younger officer operating within the high-pressure environment of London's crime unit. His character reflected the tension between discipline and risk that defined the squad. Born John Kenneth Foynquinos on the 17th of January 1947 in Rugby, England, he was raised in a working-class household. His early screen work included the BBC adaptation of Emma in 1972. Following the Sweeney, he appeared in The Professionals and Doctor Who, maintaining steady television work through the late 1970s and early 1980s. Despite visible talent, his career momentum slowed as leading roles remained limited. He married Leslie Gale in 1971, and they had 2 children before divorcing. In 1985, he married Lee Middleton, later known as Lee Everett Alkin, previously married to entertainer Kenny Everett. Shortly after, he made a dramatic career shift, leaving mainstream acting in the mid-1980s to co-found a spiritual healing center with his wife. The decision marked a complete break from the industry that had made him recognizable. John Alkin died on January 30th, 2021, at the age of 74. The cause of death was not publicly disclosed. His estimated net worth was around £1 million, reflecting his television career and later spiritual ventures. His life stands as one of the most unexpected departures from the Sweeney alumni. Stephanie Turner as Allison Carter. Allison Carter, the wife of Detective Sergeant George Carter in the Sweeney, was played by Stephanie Turner. At 31 years old in 1975, she portrayed the emotionally strained partner of a man consumed by police work. Her character exposed the domestic consequences of life inside the flying squad. Though appearing in only a few episodes, she added emotional weight to the series. Born Stephanie Ann Turner on 25 May 1944 in Bradford, West Yorkshire, she grew up in post-war England under strong academic expectations. She studied drama at Manchester University and began her professional career in repertory theatre before moving into television. Early roles in Z-Cars and Public Eye strengthened her credentials before the Sweeney brought wider recognition. In 1980, she secured the lead role of Inspector Jean Darblay in Juliet Bravo. She married John Teller, and the marriage later ended in divorce. She has children and maintained a largely private family life while balancing television commitments. After leaving Juliet Bravo, she continued working through the 1990s in series such as The Hello Girls and stage productions, carefully avoiding permanent typecasting. In 2010, she retired from acting and shifted toward directing drama students and participating in charitable work, including supporting stroke patients through performance-based reading programs. Her departure marked the close of a 4-decade career in theater, radio, and television. In 2026, Stephanie Turner is 82 years old and remains alive. She lives quietly after retiring from acting in 2010, occasionally mentoring young performers and remaining involved in community projects. Her estimated net worth is around £800,000, built from decades of stage and television work. George Layton as Ray Stackpole. Ray Stackpole, the volatile figure intersecting with the criminal investigations in the Sweeney, was played by George Layton. At 32 years old in 1975, he portrayed a character navigating the tense margins of London's underworld. His appearances added sharp contrast to the detective's moral boundaries. Born George Michael William Raphael Loewy on the 2nd of March, 1942, in Bradford to Austrian Jewish refugees, his early life was shaped by displacement and post-war rebuilding. His parents fled Vienna before the outbreak of the Second World War, arriving in England unable to speak English and working as domestic staff to survive. Layton grew up sharing cramped housing with other refugee families. He studied at RADA, winning acting awards before gaining recognition as Junior Dr. Paul Collier in Doctor in the House, a role that became iconic and extended into multiple sequels. He married Vera Hodges in 1968 and later divorced. He then married Moya Smiley in 1977, building a stable family life with 4 children across both marriages. While his screen roles fluctuated between comedy and drama, his writing career provided additional creative control and financial stability. Beyond acting, Layton authored several short story collections, including The Fib and Other Stories and The Swap and Other Stories, many drawn from his refugee family background. His stories entered the national curriculum in British schools, expanding his legacy beyond performance. He continued to appear in series such as Minder, Sunburn, and later EastEnders, demonstrating steady relevance. In 2026, George Layton is 83 years old and remains alive. He lives in North London with his wife, Moya Smiley, continuing to write and occasionally engage in public appearances. His estimated net worth is around £1.2 million, earned through acting, directing, and screenwriting. Patrick Mower as Colin Magruder. Colin Magruder, the sharp, calculating figure moving within the criminal landscape of the Sweeney, was played by Patrick Mower. At 37 years old in 1975, he portrayed a hardened character entangled in the violent world that Regan's squad hunted. He left a strong impression within the show's brutal atmosphere. Born Patrick Archibald Shaw on September 12, 1938 in Oxford, he was the youngest of 3 boys. He initially trained as an engineering draftsman before graduating from RADA, redirecting his future toward performance. His breakthrough came as the ruthless assassin James Cross in Callan, followed by leading roles in Special Branch and Target. Decades later, he would achieve renewed fame as Rodney Blackstock in Emmerdale. He married Audrey Giles and later divorced, having 2 children from that marriage. In 1996, he married Anya Pope, with whom he has 1 child. His later marriage brought stability after years in an industry known for volatility. His career never fully retreated. After The Sweeney, he continued to appear in major television productions including The Professionals and stage classics such as Edward II and Rebecca. The longevity of his role in Emmerdale sustained his visibility well into later life. In 2026, Patrick Mower is 88 years old. He continues to be associated with his long-running role in Emmerdale, a cornerstone of his later career. His estimated net worth is around £2 million, accumulated from decades of television, film, and stage work. Benjamin Whitrow as DCS Braithwaite. DCS Braithwaite, the senior detective chief superintendent enforcing discipline above the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by Benjamin Whitrow. At 41 years old in 1978, he portrayed the high-ranking officer responsible for overseeing Regan's controversial operations. Though his time in the series was brief, the role reinforced his reputation for commanding presence. Born Benjamin John Whitrow on the 17th of February 1937 in Oxford, he was the son of a schoolteacher and educated at the Dragon School and Tunbridge before training at RADA. His early career included service in the King's Dragoon Guards during national service, followed by years of repertory theater and work with the National Theatre under Laurence Olivier. His television breakthrough expanded steadily, but widespread recognition came with his BAFTA-nominated portrayal of Mr. Bennet in the 1995 BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. He later voiced Fowler in Chicken Run, adding an unexpected dimension to his screen legacy. He was married to Catherine Cook, and they had 2 children together. He also had a son, Angus Imrie, with actress Celia Imrie. His personal life drew attention when the existence of his son outside his marriage became public, adding complexity to his otherwise composed public image. Despite this, he remained closely connected to all his children and continued working steadily across stage, film, and radio. In his later years, Whitrow continued acting in major productions, including Bomber and Darkest Hour. During the recording of BBC Radio 4 dramas in 2017, his health deteriorated. He suffered a brain hemorrhage while working, bringing a sudden end to a career that had spanned more than 6 decades. Benjamin Whitrow died on the 28th of September 2017 at the age of 80 in Wimbledon, London. The cause of death was a brain hemorrhage, with cancer reported as part of his broader health decline. His estimated net worth was around £1 million, accumulated through decades of theater, television, and film work. Gary Waldhorn as Alan Fowler. Alan Fowler, the sharp-tongued figure intersecting with police investigations in the Sweeney, was played by Gary Waldhorn. At 32 years old in 1975, he portrayed a character operating within the tense legal and political environment surrounding the flying squad. His performance added dry wit and controlled authority to the series. Born Gary Peter Waldhorn on the 3rd of July, 1943, in London to Austrian Jewish parents who had fled Europe, he was shaped by a legacy of displacement and survival. He studied acting at the Yale School of Drama, graduating in 1967, before building a strong foundation in theater with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Wider recognition came later as Counselor David Horton in The Vicar of Dibley, where his exasperated authority and comic timing made him a beloved television presence. He married Christy Dickinson in April 1967, a partnership that endured for decades and produced one child. Christy became a theater director and writer, and their shared artistic life kept them closely connected to the stage. His marriage remained steady as his television career expanded, balancing long-running theater commitments with recurring sitcom roles. In his later years, Waldhorn continued appearing in television and stage productions while remaining active in charitable work, including serving as a patron for Malawi Dream. His presence in British comedy remained strong through reruns of The Vicar of Dibley, which introduced him to new generations of viewers. Gary Waldhorn died on January 10, 2022, at the age of 78. The cause of death was age-related natural decline. His estimated net worth was around £1 million, built from decades of theater, television, and film performances. James Cosmo as Davy Freeth. Davy Freeth, a figure moving within the criminal networks intersecting the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by James Cosmo. At 31 years old in 1978, he portrayed a rugged character entangled in the show's violent underworld. His role added raw intensity to the narrative. Even in limited screen time, his physical presence stood out. Born James Ronald Gordon Copeland on 27 October 1947 in Scotland, he was raised in a working-class environment shaped by industrial labor and artistic influence from his father, actor James Copeland. He attended school in Dumbarton before working briefly in shipbreaking yards, an experience that hardened him early. Adopting Cosmo as his stage surname, he built a reputation for powerful supporting roles. He became widely recognized as Angus MacLeod in Highlander, Campbell in Braveheart, and later as Jeor Mormont in HBO's Game of Thrones. He married Annie Harris, and their marriage endured across decades of a demanding acting career. While he often portrayed warriors and hardened leaders, his domestic life remained steady and grounded. His long-term partnership provided stability through fluctuating film schedules and international productions. In 2026, James Cosmo is 79 years old and remains alive. He continues to appear in select film and television projects while maintaining public engagement with fans. His estimated net worth is around £3 million, built from decades of international film and television success. Dudley Sutton as Max Deller. Max Deller, the calculating career criminal involved in a gold bullion heist in the Sweeney, was played by Dudley Sutton. At 42 years old in 1975, he portrayed a hardened offender whose schemes collided with the flying squad. His character brought unpredictability and psychological edge to the episode Golden Boy. The role reinforced his reputation for playing unconventional figures. Born on the 6th of April 1933 in Kingston-upon-Thames, Sutton grew up during wartime Britain and later served in the Royal Air Force before enrolling at RADA. His early film performances in The Boys, 1962, and The Leather Boys, 1964, established him as a daring and unconventional actor willing to explore controversial themes. His most enduring television fame came as Tinker Dill in Lovejoy. Sutton married American actress Marjorie Steele in 1961, and they had one child before divorcing in 1965. He later had 2 more children. His personal life unfolded alongside a career that constantly shifted between theater, film, and television, maintaining his reputation as an offbeat and independent performer. In later life, he developed autobiographical one-man shows and continued appearing in television dramas including EastEnders and Father Brown. He remained creatively active well into his 80s, refusing to retreat from performance even as his health declined. Dudley Sutton died on September 15, 2018 at the age of 85 due to cancer. His estimated net worth was around £800,000, accumulated from a career spanning radio, theater, film, and television. Ronald Lacey as Barry Monk. Barry Monk, the unsettling criminal presence colliding with the flying squad in the Sweeney, was played by Ronald Lacey. At 40 years old in 1975, he portrayed a morally ambiguous figure whose nervous intensity made him unforgettable. His performance added psychological menace to the episode. Even without leading status, he commanded attention. Born Ronald William Lacey on September 28, 1935 in Harrow, Middlesex, he trained at Lambda after national service and developed a distinctive screen persona built on sharp features, piercing eyes, and an unnerving smile. He became known for eccentric and villainous roles on British television before international recognition arrived as Nazi agent Arnold Thaw in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The role cemented his image as a sinister antagonist. He married actress Mella White in 1962, and they had 2 children before divorcing. In 1972, he married Joanna Baker, and they had a son together. His family life existed alongside a career built on grotesque and comic villainy, often blurring the line between satire and menace. In April 1991, Lacey was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. The illness progressed with shocking speed. Just weeks after the diagnosis, his condition deteriorated dramatically, cutting short any hope of recovery. Ronald Lacey died on May 15, 1991, at the age of 55 from liver cancer. His estimated net worth was around £700,000, earned from 3 decades of television and film roles. Diana Dors as Mrs. Ricks. Mrs. Ricks, the provocative and worldly figure entangled in the criminal tension of the Sweeney, was played by Diana Dors. At 47 years old in 1978, she portrayed a mature, sharp-edged character whose presence carried both glamour and danger. Her appearance brought a different kind of electricity to the series. Born Diana Mary Fluck on 23 October 1931 in Swindon, she grew up amid wartime instability and family uncertainty, never fully certain of her biological father's identity. Expelled from school for defiance, she entered Lambda at just 14 after lying about her age, becoming its youngest student. She rose to fame as Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe, but proved deeper than the blonde bombshell label suggested, delivering a haunting performance in Yield to the Night. Her personal life was turbulent. She married Dennis Hamilton in 1951, a relationship that ended in financial betrayal and scandal. She then married Richard Dawson, with whom she had 2 sons, before divorcing again. In 1968, she married Alen Lake, and their marriage remained intense and volatile. Tabloids fed on stories of extravagant parties at Orchard Manor, adult gatherings that later exploded into public controversy when she described them in serialized newspaper interviews. Fame, scandal, bankruptcy, and reinvention followed in relentless cycles. In the early 1980s, ovarian cancer was diagnosed. She underwent surgeries and treatment while continuing television appearances and cabaret performances, refusing to disappear quietly. The illness returned aggressively, weakening her rapidly. Her final public appearance in April 1984 showed visible frailty, yet she completed her performance standing. Diana Dors died on the 4th of May, 1984, at the age of 52, from a recurrence of ovarian cancer. She was buried at Sunningdale Catholic Cemetery, and 5 months later her husband Alen Lake took his own life, a tragedy that shocked Britain. After legal costs and debts, little remained of her estimated £1 million estate. Decades after the Sweeney, 1975 to 1978, first brought grit and gunfire to British television, Many of its cast members faced battles far harsher than anything written in a script. Which story shocked you the most, and whose fate did you never see coming? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful stories about the stars you thought you knew.